Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you've got a thought, theory, opinion, or observation or question, and as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, you can fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Send it on in, and again, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on our show, we'll address it in the second part of the show. Also, here's the good news about the tip link. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our show on our podcast feed, either on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can still send in a question. Or if you're watching our video a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can also send in a question and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right. With that down, guys, let's get things started and move on with this. You guys may have heard a little while ago that the Russo brothers were doing an extremely expensive movie, like some rumors put over $300 million, called The Electric State, with Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt. Well, the first trailer for Electric State has dropped, and it's okay. It's okay. For a first trailer, not bad. It visually looks beautiful. But listen to this cast. The cast, well, it's described as this. This is from Variety. They described the movie Electric Surface as set in an alternative America in the mid-1990s. The Electric State stars Millie Bobby Brown as Michelle, a young girl traveling across the country in search of her missing brother in the wake of a civil war between humanity and robots. Haven't seen that before. That once served them. Pratt plays Keats, a smuggler she meets on the way. But listen to the supporting cast. The cast also includes Stanley Tucci, Giancarlo Esposito, Woody Norman, Ki-Hugh Kwan, Anthony Mackie, Billy Bob Thornton, Woody Harrelson, Jenny Slate, Jason Alexander, Alan Tudyk, and Brian Cox. And that's the supporting cast. Now, a bunch of them, I think, are just... A couple of them are live action characters. A couple of them are going to be...
Voices.
Yeah, voices of some of the robots. But here's the most interesting thing. On the last frame of the trailer, screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. The reason that's significant is that Marcus and McFeely are the same writers who wrote Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame and a couple of others with directors Joe and Anthony Russo. So essentially, what we have here is the actual Infinity War and Endgame team. The writing and directing team is making this. That, to me, is fascinating. Now, listen, if you guys have followed me for any period of time, you know I am completely biased for Joe and Anthony Russo. I love these guys. I think they're wonderful. I think they're great. I've had them in my studios like 3 different times. They've always been fantastic, and I always cheer for them. Now, that being said, if I'm being honest, I also haven't loved a lot of their stuff they've done since their time at Marvel. Like a lot of the films they've directed or produced, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been overly excited about any of them. But them teaming up again with Marcus and McFeely, it's an interesting looking concept. I like what I saw. What did you think about the trailer?
I liked it. It definitely looks interesting, and I'm hoping it comes through, you know. But I also hope it's not a situation where it looks cool, but it's just a Borderlands situation. It also reminded me, and I swear the voice is the same of one of the robots. There's a show on Apple TV called Sunny. And
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, and she befriends, well, she has like this robot servant that she befriends, and the robot's voice is identical to this giant robot who's like, you know, getting hit in the head with the refrigerators in the trailer. Great cast. I don't know much about the story other than she's looking for her brother, and it's a dystopian future where, you know, robots and people are sort of checked out and robots are kind of enslaved or whatever. It looks like it could be fun. Again, I just am afraid this is going to be like a Borderlands kind of thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not looking for a lot of details in a first trailer. It's just a first trailer meant to give us a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't think there's anything that's making it jump off the screen at me, but it does look beautiful. And I love the cast.
The thing that I wonder about when Netflix does these movies, it's like, it seems like the bingeable series like Stranger Things, of course Millie Bobby Brown's in that as well, is what brings in subscribership. I don't feel like these one-off movies bring in new subscribers. So it's always odd when they don't do a theatrical release for these films, you know?
I mean, that's a whole nother ball of wax, right? Like, they should absolutely be giving limited theatrical runs to these films, because then when you do pull it back to Netflix, it'll have an even bigger viewership than it would have otherwise.
If nothing else, it's promotion.
Yeah, again, this is just another one of those movies that raises that question. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see the new trailer for Electric State with Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown? I think it looks interesting, particularly because you got the Russo brothers teaming up with Marcus and McFeely again. Listen, they've made magic before. Can they do it again here, even though it's a straight-to-Netflix movie? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Episode 6 of Agatha All Along has now dropped. Listen, I've made no bones about this. I've really liked the show. I don't think it's on the same level as, like, say, Penguin, which is also out right now.
Right.
But I've been really quite enjoying it. I've been liking it. Now, they did the big twist last week, which I hoped they wouldn't do, but they did, saying that Teen is indeed Billy Maximoff, which a lot of you guys at home always thought he would be. I didn't think they'd do it because it's dumb, but they did it.
Just like good.
Yeah. But they did it, and I gotta say, I still like the episode. Like, even though they did something I didn't think they should do, I was like, you know what? The reveal was pretty good, and it kind of, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? Well, now the big follow-up episode, Familiar by Thy Side, comes out, and they do what I said they would do. Remember, I said that I bet the next episode is just going to be a big flashback about showing how Billy came to this point. Well, that's the entire thing that the episode was. Now, I'm just going to let you guys know, we will be discussing over the next few minutes this episode of Agatha All Along in some spoilery detail.
I'll put up the badge.
All right? So once you see this spoilers warning come off the screen, then it's okay for you to unmute. So if you don't want to know anything about what happened to Agatha All Along last night, mute your thing now and then unmute it when the spoiler thing turns off. All right. Are we good? Okay. So let me start by the things that I really liked about the episode. I love that they brought back Ralph Bohner.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't love how long it was, and I didn't necessarily love exactly how they used him, but the idea that he found somebody from within, what is it, Eastview or Westview?
I think it's Westview.
Westview, yeah.
I'm going to look that up.
We're going to say Westview, unless I'm contradicted.
Our chat's got our back.
So the idea that he has found somebody in Westview that is willing to talk, and it ends up being a guy who maybe got taken of advantage the worst with Ralph Bohner. And so he came and he did the exposition dump.
Right, yeah,
Granted, it was just a big exposition dump, but still, I thought it was good and it worked. You know what I loved in the episode? I loved the episode, or I loved the part of the episode where they re-go over what happened in the first episode, but we get to see it as it really was, not from Agatha's illusions.
Illusion, or maybe,
Like her re-going over, questioning Teen in the police station, but they were never in the police station. They were always in her living room. The fact that instead of a gun in her holster, she had a hose head in her thing. And it just played really well. I really, really liked that. I also kind of enjoyed that throughout the episode, they showed that there was a connection to Teen from all the witches of the Coven already at that point. And I like that. There are two things, though, that I gotta say. raise really frustrating questions for me that they may answer in the last 3 episodes, and I hope that they do. One thing that really bothered me, the scene in the episode where he's at his bar mitzvah. I'm not Jewish, but I assume that was a bar mitzvah. He's at his bar mitzvah, and he goes into the fortune teller's tent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the lady. It's the fortune teller lady from the coven. And she clearly sees on his hand that he dies. And what she says to him is, hey, listen, kiddo, live life today, go out and live life. And instead of not being a horrible asshole and not saying, hey, kid, don't get in the car tonight, she goes, oh, you're going to die, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just going to let you die. But I'm going to make this little sigil. And here you go. So now we know how he got the sigil. That really frustrated me, because this woman was not portrayed in the show to be evil. It's like, oh, I'm looking at your line. You're going to die tonight. I would suggest maybe not getting in a car. Take a cab, or maybe stay here late, but don't get in the car because you're going to die. And she didn't tell him. And that kind of, now maybe in the final 3 episodes, why she doesn't tell him, why it was important that Billy get an empty vessel or whatever. It was very, very vital. Like, maybe the final 3 episodes will give us an answer to that. I hope that they do, because if they do, great. Otherwise, I thought that was a really bad thing. It's like, oh no, this kid's going to die, but I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell him he dies in a car accident tonight. Nope, I'm going to keep that to myself. That bothered me. The other thing that bothers me a bit is this. So Billy is now back. He's in this body now. Somehow, some way, the pretend boy had a real soul, which is preposterous and stupid in itself, but hey, it's a Marvel thing, that got jettisoned out of the hex and found an empty body to reanimate back to life. Okay, let's just go with that. I think there's a lot dumb about that, but it's a comic book show, whatever. Let's just go with that. Here's the part that bothers me a bit. Is that understanding how otherworldly Wanda is, and how purely off the scale, otherworldly, powerful Scarlet Witch is, particularly in possession of the Darkhold. You're telling me that Scarlet Witch, for years, with the Darkhold, scavenging the universe for signs of her children, couldn't pick up that her sons, because remember, it's sons plural. He said, Tommy is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy's out there. I got to find them. I can feel him. He's out there. You're telling me a being as infinitely powerful as Scarlet Witch, in possession of the Darkhold, couldn't detect her sons in this world? Well, John, you might say, John, the sigil. You see, John, she had the sigil in his pocket. You're telling me a low-level spell cast by a low-level, practically no-name little witch is something that the Scarlet Witch couldn't penetrate? I want to remind you guys, in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, an army of sorcerers, including the Sorcerer Supreme, tried to stand and use their power against Wanda, and Wanda wiped them out. Her power, particularly while in possession of the Darkhold, would far exceed any little. The sigil, John. She had the sigil. Her power would so trump that she could detect other versions of her children in other alternate realities. She couldn't travel the multiverse. That's why she needed to get America Ferrera. But she could see and sense her children in other realities. But the sigil, this low-level spell cast by this low-level witch, that can stop the Scarlet Witch. And by the way, you may want to say the sigil, because it's on Billy, what about Tommy? Does Tommy have a sigil? Does Tommy have a sigil?
That's why they call him Tommy Sigil.
That's why.
That's
why we call him Tommy Sigil, right? Oh my gosh, people right. Did I say America Ferrera? Sorry, America Chavez.
America Chavez.
America Ferrera is the actress.
Right.
America Chavez. Sorry. So, I mean, that I have to admit that really bothers me. This whole notion that a Scarlet Witch who wipes out all the sorcerers on the world, including the Sorcerer Supreme, who is obsessively laser focused on trying to find her children because some little witch put a little sigil on somebody? I mean, again, though, just like why did she let that kid die? There are still 3 episodes left. And maybe in these next 3 episodes, it will be explained why Wanda Maximoff couldn't detect her own kid.
It's clear who the fortune teller was. It was Mephisto.
Mephisto. Yeah, that just looked like her, but it was
Mephisto
actually
created the Darkhold and therefore masked the real children from Wanda.
So,
Fixed. Marvel, you can send the check.
Send the checks. So, there's that. So, overall, I thought it was an interesting episode. It left some things leaving me feel very dissatisfied, but I acknowledge I'm dissatisfied right now. There are still 3 episodes to go. Maybe it addresses that. So let's give it that leeway. But there's something else interesting that happened in this episode that made me this morning go, wait a minute. Let me go back and watch episode 1 again. Because here's the thing. If you guys remember, in Agatha Along, episode 1, it starts off with her showing up to a murder scene, right? And we see this. A body lying in the woods, in jeans, bare feet, dirty bare feet, a dark hoodie with a hood pulled over their head, and dirty hands. Well, then I'm watching this new episode. And how does the new episode end? It's a very, very difficult shot to see because they blurred the camera. What do we see? We see Billy in jeans, in dirty bare feet, in a dark hoodie, and dirty hands pulling a hoodie over his head. Go back to the other picture.
We have the technology.
Body in the woods, dead face down, jeans, bare feet, dirty, bare hands, dark hoodie, hood pulled over. End of this episode. Billie Jean.
Why that got me.
That's good. Billie Jean. And then dark hoodie, clothes. Now, I do want to mention that when Agatha shows up at the murder scene, they specifically refer to it as a dead girl. But a little bit later in the episode, in episode 1, when Agatha goes to the library, and she goes, oh, so you found a dead girl. What does Agatha says? Who said it was a girl? Again, I'm not saying that the body in the woods is actually Billy and not Wanda. But I also want to point out, too, when Agatha goes into the morgue and Maximoff gets written on the toe tag, it doesn't say Wanda Maximoff.
Right. That just could be family.
It just says Maximoff.
Surname. So
the kid calls himself Billy Maximoff. And again, so I'm just saying, I found that interesting because the clothes she's wearing in the woods are not the clothes she's wearing in Wondagore when she dies in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Right? Because they say, they give illusion. Somewhere in Europe, she was crushed by heavy things. That's not what Wanda was wearing, but it is what Billy was wearing.
Unless Billy is Wanda.
Billy is Wanda. Now, again, I'm not saying that's what it is. I just thought it was an interesting observation. So, people are pointing out, they said on the toe
Oh,
tag,
is
it
it
said W.
Max.
Maximoff. Yeah, but what's the kid's real name? William.
William. Right.
His real name is William.
Right when you said that, I'm like, right, William.
Again, not saying that that's Billy in episode 1. I'm just saying I think that's a very interesting little, why is she wearing those clothes, the body in the woods, and they look extremely similar to what Billy's. I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there.
Well, why was it, we thought it was a gun in her holster and it was a hose thing. So
and it was a hose. So who knows? Anyway, overall, I thought it was the weakest episode of the season, but I still liked it. I mean, again, it brought up some questions. I'm kind of dissatisfied in some ways, but I acknowledge that they may answer those questions later on. So give it that. I still like the episode. So yeah, I think the weakest of the episodes, but still a good one. And I'm still completely on board the show. So we'll see how the final 3 episodes go. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about the new episode of Agatha All Along? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? There's another really good show out there. I go beyond really good. It's great. The Penguin. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. The ratings for Penguin are going up every single episode, which is crazy. It's pulling in great numbers for them. It's doing extremely well. I am loving this show so far. Well, we are now officially halfway through the season. There's 8 episodes. Ocho, for those of you who watch Dodgeball. The Ocho.
Or no Spanish.
That's how long it is. We've had our 4th episode. We're now midway through.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers today released this, a Penguin mid-season New York Comic-Con trailer with Kristen Milioti. Sophia Falcone needs Colin Farrell's Oscob to suffer for what he's done. This trailer is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I have loved this show so far. I can't believe it's only been 4 episodes. Seriously, I feel like I've already watched 9 or 10 episodes. It's only been 4 episodes. Or was that no, it was the 4th one we just saw.
Right.
And it has been remarkable.
It does feel like it's more than 4, even when I think about it, because so much has happened and the characters have developed so much that you're like, no, it wasn't 4. It was like 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yep. And you know what else? Because the Agatha trailers are the Agatha episodes are like 35 minutes long. These are longer episodes, but that aside. So they play this new trailer and it's bonkers because it shows that that's just the starting. Everything that's happened up to this point has just been setting the table. It's like, all right. And what this trailer shows us is now the war is now going to start, but it's not a head-to-head war. Because everybody knows the best things in life are threesomes. And this is a threesome war.
Yeah.
We got the Falcones, the new Falcones, under Sophia Falcone. We got the Maronis, who are obviously clearly very dangerous. But now a 3rd member of the Menage a Trois. It looks like Penguin is cashing in all of his chips with all the goodwill and loyalty he's got with a lot of the other street level guys. And they are forming themselves a 3rd party of this. Now all we need are the dwarves and the elves to show up, and we've got the Battle of the 5 Armies.
Yeah, there we go.
It's actually a big crossover. And just the whole thing with Sophia, she's now wiped out her family, wiped them out. And now she's talking to all the soldiers. My father's empire is dead, but I'm starting a new family. And you can be a part of it. And mission number 1, kill Oz. Make him suffer. Now, the trailer seems to imply that Sophia's going to go after the girl. Because remember, she held up the picture of her, the one that Penguin clearly has a good relationship with.
Yes,
they have each other's back.
Yeah.
Sophia holds up that picture. But I think it's also implied in the trailer she's going to find out about Oz's mom. And I think she might go after Oz's mother. And I think this could get very dirty. Maybe that's what pushes Oz over the top. Maybe something cataclysmic here happens to Oz that pushes him, nah. Hey, Nas, you can call me Penguin. Or so, I don't know. Maybe that's what happens, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Well, we know that a lot to do with his like psychopathy is his mother, because he's constantly just like, my mother will be so disappointed in me. I got to rise to the top. And she just forces him. So she's a huge driver in his issues.
And by the way, I'm seeing some people in the live chat like saying, well, we all know Oz was going to win. Do we? Like, what if Matt Reeves wants his Batman universe to be set up where you now have 3 predominant crime families? Mm-hmm. The Maronis, the Falcones, and Penguins. Or maybe one of the families gets taken out. Maybe the Maronis get taken down. Or maybe Sophia gets taken down. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see. All I know is this trailer's awesome. And as if I wasn't already excited for the second half of this season, this has pushed me to a whole new level. Guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see this new trailer for the Penguin, the mid-season trailer, setting up all the stuff we're going to get in the second half? Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine have just set a home video record. Not surprising. Rings of Power Season 2 has driven record growth for Amazon streaming. We're going to talk about those numbers. And the director for Venom 3 has just set out, oh, Knull, you're going to be seeing more of him after Venom 3. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. I love these guys, the folks over at Mando. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mando. Guys, I've got to tell you about something that changed my whole body care game. Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Now, I first heard about Mando last year when they offered to become a sponsor of the show, and I was honestly skeptical. I mean, a deodorant can't really control odor for 72 hours, can it? But after using it myself, I am a believer. You can use it anywhere on your body, and I mean anywhere. It's clinically proven to keep you smelling fresh for up to 72 hours without any irritation. I'm loving the Clover Wood scent, but they've got options like Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and even unscented if you prefer to go stealth mode. I like to use it after the shower, before the gym, or even important meetings. It's that reliable. And right now, Mando's got a killer deal. New customers get $5 off their best-selling starter pack with my exclusive code CAMPEA. That's over 40% off. Just go to shopmando, that's shopmando.com, and use the code CAMPEA. Seriously, guys, if you want a deodorant that's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and just works better than anything else you've tried, it's time to make the switch to Mando. So don't wait. Control body odor anywhere with Mando. Head over to shopmando.com and use the code CAMPEA and get $5 off your starter pack. Trust me, you're going to love it. That's at shopmando.com. Go and check it out now. And thank you to our friends at Mando for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The victory parade, if you will, for Deadpool and Wolverine continues. Of course, we all know what an absolute triumph it was, both in terms of quality and success. It set the all-time box office record for the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, making $1.33 billion at the box office, blowing away the previous R-rated record, which was Joker. And now there's only two R-rated films in history have ever made over $1 billion. That's Joker 1 and Deadpool and Wolverine. Well, now it's available for rent and purchase on VOD for home video, and it's setting records again. This comes to us from Screen Rant to write the following. The highest grossing R-rated film of all time, and ranks as Deadpool and Wolverine as the number 13 highest grossing domestic film and the number 7 highest grossing MCU film worldwide. Deadpool and Wolverine recently launched on digital platforms on October 1st and is already breaking at-home viewing records. It delivered the highest selling week 1 ever for an R-rated film on domestic digital platforms. This latest record shows how successful the film has been financially and the lasting popularity it had with audiences. All right. So I think there's a couple of interesting things to glean from this. Number one, it just broke records for sales, There's a couple things you need to keep in mind too. A lot of people in film fandom, Matt Damon was kind of talked about this a little bit. Home video sales today they're really not much. It actually doesn't do much to move the needle for the financial fortunes of a movie. Just being clear, Matt Damon talked about this on Hot Ones and kind of laid out how ever since the models have really changed, the home video industry doesn't actually add a lot to the overall coffers. It's still nothing to sneeze at, but it's not like anything compared to, say, box office. Right. But still, this tells us a couple things. Number one, to me, the enduring popularity of Deadpool and Wolverine. At $1.33 billion, almost everybody saw it. The people buying it now at home are not people who didn't see it before. These are people who saw this movie, probably saw it multiple times, love the movie, and now are forking out $30 so they can watch it at home, or $25 to rent it. In other words, why would you pay $25 to rent it if you can buy it for 30? Just whatever. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to feel. It's like, hey, why don't you spend the extra $5 and just quote unquote own it? Anyway, there's that. The second thing that's interesting to me was that in a new era right now, where so many movies are rushing their films once they've played in theaters to home video, like sometimes within a matter of weeks, like a couple of weeks, they're putting them out on home video. Like even Wild Robot.
Yeah. It's getting legs. They really should just leave it alone.
They really should. But the Twisters.
Right.
Ended up being on home video like within 3 weeks of an opening or something like that. Somewhere around that timeline, right? What did Deadpool and Wolverine do? They waited 65 days. The old window used to be 90. The new window is technically 45. And they were like, we're not even going to wait for the full new window. They waited 65 days.
Yeah.
And a part of waiting wasn't yes, so it could keep making money at the box office. Yes, 100%. But also the flip side of that was also that by having a 65-day pause, you build anticipation for that coming out on home video. And what's the result? They just broke records. Instead of rushing it out the door and rushing it onto digital, they waited, hold, and then they released it and broke all kinds of records. Here's the third thing that's interesting to me about this. It is once again a reminder that all of just how wrong everybody who kept saying, oh, there's comic book movie fatigue, just how wrong they were. Guys like me, Rob, Chris, we've been saying forever, there is no such thing as comic book movie fatigue. There is mediocre movie fatigue. And it's not a coincidence that superhero movies box offices started to decline when the movies got more mediocre. And then when something excellent comes out, the results are fantastic. Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 never made $1 billion. Neither of them made $1 billion. And yet, in this comic book movie, everybody's tired of comic book movies now. Nobody wants to see comic book movies anymore. Well, you take a property that never made $1 billion before. They've made roughly around 800 million, 700 plus. And now it makes almost double that. It makes $1.33 billion. Tell me more about this comic book movie fatigue. I'm fascinated. Tell me more.
And I don't even really understand why there's comic book movie fatigue to begin with, because most of the films that I've seen lately are not comic book movies. So there's plenty of room for comic book movies in my roster. So
I mean, and look, Disney's having big success with Agatha all along. Warner Brothers is having huge success with Penguin. It's just, guys, when the content starts getting mediocre, interest will decrease. Mm-hmm. When the content is good, interests go right back to where they were. It's not rocket science. But anyway, so I think it's really interesting, all that. Now, I myself, being a huge avid lover of Deadpool and Wolverine, I have neither bought nor rented it. There's no point because I pay for Disney Plus, so I'm just going to get it on Disney Plus. It's just going to be there for me on Disney Plus without having to pay any more money.
Right.
So I'm just waiting for it to get on Disney Plus. But apparently a bunch of people have. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? According to reports, Deadpool and Wolverine have just set the all-time first week sales records for an R-rated film. Shouldn't be really all that surprised. Have you rented or bought it yet? Or are you like me that you're just waiting for it to come on Disney Plus? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Rings of Power Season 2 has now concluded. It's done. And despite the fact of how tremendously disappointed I and many people were in Season 1, that's how impressed I was with Season 2. Season 2 turned it around, in my opinion. And became a season that I wasn't even looking forward to watching because of the mediocrity of Season 1 and the disappointment of Season 1. But here came Season 2. I was like, my God, it's a ton better. And as a result of the awfulness of Season 1, the debut episode ratings were much lower. Half of what they were before. Not a surprise. A lot of people like me weren't interested in Season 2. But then something funky started to happen. Week after week after week, the viewership got bigger and bigger and bigger because word started getting around. It's like, hey, you know what? It looks like they fixed a lot of their problems and Season 2 is actually much better. So people started coming back and the viewership went up and up and up. So much so that it created record growth for Amazon streaming, according to Screen Rant. Screen Rant wrote the following. Nielsen's new issue of The Gauge via Deadline reveals that Prime Video's share of TV usage in September went up by 12% from August. That is the largest monthly growth of all the streaming services. The data reveals that Prime Video's total percentage of viewership, which includes broadcast, cable, and streaming, stands at 3.6%. This puts it just behind Netflix's 7.9% and YouTube's 10.6%, but it now puts them ahead of Disney's 2.5% and Hulu's 2.4%. This growth was driven by both the Rings of Power Season 2 and Thursday Night Football, which has been a big win for Amazon, Thursday Night Football. The Lord of the Rings show was the third most watched streaming title in the month of September, ranking in an impressive 4.3 billion minutes viewed, a figure clearly bolstered by the release of Season 2. Check out these. Anyway, so as Rings of Power Season 2 is now kind of in our rearview mirror, a lot of analysis is going to be done, right? Now, it should be pointed out that Rings of Power Season 2 never hit the peak viewership of Season 1 because Season 1 stunk. Everybody tuned in, and then slowly people started to fall off. But what Season 2 is doing is it seems to be getting them back. And created record growth for the streaming service. And I think this says a lot. And I think it says a lot of positive things for them moving forward. Remember, they said they have a 5-season plan. They've already said they're starting to develop Season 3. And they say they got a 5-season plan. Now, Amazon has been smart about this. They have not guaranteed 5 seasons. They say the plan is 5 seasons. We are working on Season 3, but viewership will determine if we get to Season 5. So, hey, as long as viewership in Season 3 does what Season 2 does and just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, we're going to get Seasons 4 and 5. But if Season 3 reverts back to Season 1's quality and we see viewership start to drop off, well, that could pretty much kill any hopes for a Season 4 and a 5. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? According to the statistics, Amazon enjoyed the biggest growth out of all the streaming services, and it's being accredited to Rings of Power Season 2 and a huge one, Thursday Night Football. What do you think about that? Were you somebody like me that was kind of sick of Rings of Power after Season 1, but gave Season 2 a chance and ended up being impressed? Maybe you never got back on it and gave it another chance. That's understandable. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of our viewers wrote in yesterday, and I can't, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, I might be paraphrasing this a little bit, but basically said the director of Venom 3 has said that Knull is going to have other movies.
Right.
And I think they might have even said the MCU. I can't remember that, at any rate. But I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, I went and read it. And yep, not the MCU, but according to Cinema Blend here, Venom 3 concludes Eddie Brock's story. Tom Hardy is done. But the director's comments on the film's big bad, Knull, have made me hype for what's to come. This is what she said. The director of Venom 3 said this. We were all, and remember, she also wrote the first two Venom movies. We were always aware of Knull, but we knew that we needed to lay the foundation of the Venom character and his relationship with Eddie before introducing him. This is just the beginning of Knull. Now, she clarifies a little bit when she goes on to say this. We're in spoiler territory now, and we hope some of the fun of watching this movie is not knowing what will happen. But trust me, we know full well how important Knull is to the fans. So, just as we lay the foundation for Venom, we hope we are doing the same for Knull. The King in Black is way too powerful for a one and done. This film introduces Knull, but it just touches the beginnings of his story. Marvel's greatest film villains are developed over time. Here, Knull is the threat lurking behind the danger that tests the absolute limits of Eddie and Venom's partnership. But it's their relationship that remains the heart of the story. From the beginning, Tom and I always envisioned that this particular Eddie Venom story would be told in 3 parts, and the story arc would climax with a third film for reasons the movie will reveal. So, what is clear is that Knull ain't just going to show up and then get killed by Venom and whatever symbiote allies he has and be done. He's not a one and done. But John, one might say, and I am saying, if Tom Hardy's done and the Venom character is done, what are they going to do with Knull? Apparently, Sony's got plans. I don't know what they are, but they include maybe unifying their disparate universe and having Knull as the big bad guy in the background. Now, many of you guys will be quick to point out, well, there's already an MCU connection. Because the Necro Sword, the all black, that Gore, Christian Bale, uses in Thor Love and Thunder, that was created by Knull. Well, yes, but not in the MCU, it wasn't. So I don't believe that we're about to see this Knull in this Venom movie cross over into the MCU. I don't think that's what we're about to see. I'm not against that. I just don't think that's what Sony's doing. But apparently he's going to become the big bad that apparently characters like Kraven and...
Say it.
No.
Say it.
Morbius.
There you go.
May team up. I don't think you'll ever see Jared Leto back. But maybe they'll have to create some other formidable characters that can join forces with Kraven. That's as long as Kraven doesn't suck. And stand up to Knull. Now, there's still a big question going on out there. Who is playing Knull? There are 2 primary theories. One is Norman Reedus from Boondock Saints and the zombie show.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, that's it. The zombie show. The more predominant theory is that Andy Serkis is playing Knull. Of course, Andy Serkis is completely connected to this unit. He directed the last one. Right? And he's great at playing these types of characters. So I'm honestly completely good. If it does end up being Norman Reedus, I think he'd be great at it. If it does end up being Andy Serkis, I'm completely good with that too. I think both are great. So I'm completely down. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? The director of Venom 3 is just confirmed. Knull will continue after Venom. Knull is going to be a huge villainous background in this cinematic universe. But how are they going to handle that? What people are going to be there to stand up to Knull? And who is going to play Knull? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to get to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode, our good friends over at the Dollar Shave Club. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Dollar Shave Club. Hello there, my fellow handsome gentlemen. Nice face you shaved there. Whether you're going smooth shaven or maintaining a beard, Dollar Shave Club offers shave and grooming products that are always high quality, but never overpriced. If you like to wet shave for that clean, close shave, they've got the Club Series 6 Blade Razor. A shave so comfy your skin will take a nap. 6 stainless steel blades for our closest and most comfortable shave, with a vitamin E infused lubricant strip for comfort and glide and precision trimmer for precise detailing. Their amazing shave butter, clear view, smooth glide, designed for precision. Shave butter is a translucent shaving cream alternative that allows you to see exactly where you're shaving. Bonus, it has long-lasting lubrication that helps soften whiskers for maximum glide and leaves your skin feeling hydrated. But don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more, and get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/Campea and use promo code Campea for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. And thank you to our friends at the Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Tristan Thorpe is first. Watch Terrifier and episode 4 of Penguin back to back.
Wow.
It's crazy how disturbed I was by the Penguin episode to the point I almost had to turn it off. Compared to watching Terrifier, I didn't feel scared. Also, 90 minutes movie and felt so slow for the most part. It's about building tension.
The thing is, shows like Penguin that try to feel very grounded and real, sometimes that stuff can be more scary because it feels like, yeah, that could happen. The notion of being arrested and then thrown into a place like that feels a little bit more real than a demonic this or that or a clown serial killer or whatever, right? Like I often talk about in the magnificent movie Quiet Place, the scariest, most terrifying, most heart-pounding thing in that movie to me wasn't the monsters ripping people apart. It was Emily Blunt slowly walking down some basement stairs, and you realize she's about to step on a rusty nail.
Yeah.
That, to me, was the most gut-wrenching, horrific thing in that movie. Because it felt I feel like that could happen to me today. So there is something to be said for that.
Sure.
All right, what's next?
Hookem says, only saw Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters on opening Thursday showing. Now seeing again on iTunes. Is that really Chris Hemsworth's Thor? It really kind of looks like his brother to me. Anyway, love the show. Thanks. I'm pretty sure that was him.
I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yeah.
But I also think that he didn't come in to do, I think that was just recycled footage from Thor, the Dark World, I think. And then instead of leaning over Loki, they just composited Deadpool over top of him. So that's what I think that was. All right, what's next?
Bartlett for America says, last month I started to watch The West Wing, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm loving this show. I'm currently at the end of season 3. I love Josh, Donna, Jed, Charlie, Zoe, Toby, CJ, Leo, and more. What is your favorite episode?
Oh, God. I mean, listen, I just recently elevated West Wing into my top 3 favorite shows of all time. I just bumped Spartacus out of the top 3, and I made room for so now my top 3 are, in no particular order, well, Battlestar Galactica is my favorite show of all time, then Sons of Anarchy and West Wing. Favorite episode. It might be the episode when they get Zoe back and John Goodman, who plays the Republican Speaker of the House, who took over the presidency because Martin Sheen's Jed Bartlett relinquished the presidency because he was compromised because terrorists had his daughter. So he put the country first, stepped down from his role as president. They didn't have a vice president at the time, so the Republican Speaker of the House. And the episode when they get the daughter back and Jeb comes back to reclaim the presidency, and the dynamic and the chemistry between John Goodman and Martin Sheen was so good. And honestly, part of the reason I love that episode so much is because to me, that episode was the ideal of America and the ideal of American politics. The idea and the ideal of American politics is you have the left and you have the right, and on issues of foreign policy, tax structures, all that, we have different ideas and we will butt heads. But when push comes to shove, what is best for our country will always be most important. And in those episodes, you had this great John Goodman character and of course, Jeb Bartlett, and they became great friends, and they both came together to do what was best for the country and all that kind of stuff. I love that episode because to me, it's the ideal of what, and the highest ideal of what American politics should be. So that's kind of the reason why I liked it so much. All right, what's next?
Red One Real Talk says, "How did Shrinking drop so quietly? Not sure what more to say about this show. I'm laughing, elated, and crying by the time it's over. This may be the most emotionally resonant comedy I've watched, and Brett Goldstein's arc will definitely crush me."
I mean, listen, Apple TV Plus doesn't market a lot. They're a very quiet streaming channel.
Yeah.
They just drop gold all the time. And yeah, it very sneakily came in. I love the show. Ann and I are going to watch the first 2 episodes of season 2 today before Thursday Night Football. And I cannot wait to watch it because season 1 is one of my favorite things I've watched on TV in the last couple of years. All right, what's next?
Gavin says, Colin Farrell recently said in an interview that he would be very surprised if anyone liked Oz at the end of episode 8. With that said, I doubt Victor makes it out alive. Also, do you think Oz will be the head of the families leading into Batman 2?
It's up in the air.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it literally could be. The show could end with there being maybe a truce. Gotham divided up into 3 pieces between the Maronis, the Falcones, and the new Penguin organization.
Yeah.
Penguin takes over the Maroni family. I mean, I don't know. It could go in a lot of different. But one thing I think Vic is still going to be with Oz by the end. Look, a lot of people speculate that he becomes Victor Zsasz. I'm not sure about that.
I just don't see that.
Yeah, I don't know that I see that, but I do think he's going to be there with him, whether he's Victor Zsasz or not. Just a guess. All right, what's next?
J-Ab says, Mabuhay, is Billy really Blackheart? The BF text was, "You're my..." Oh, Blackheart. Is he just pretending to mislead Agatha? I don't know his motive. Maybe he's still looking for the contract of Sen Venganza. Boner scene was hilarious. Love this and the Penguin.
I listen, again, I think they could have done the boner scene better, but I'm really happy they had it.
People are like, what scene?
Yeah.
It's his last name, if you don't know.
You'd have to see it to know. I thought it was really quite good. No, I think at this point he is who he is. I mean, the very fact that they gave us his backstory from his own perspective, I think he is now Billy. I mean, that's it. That's who he is. But listen, Nicholas Scratch, Blackheart, there's still a lot of different, listen, there's still 3 episodes left. There's a lot of time for a lot of other characters to start playing a role here. So we'll see how they unfold it. All right, what's next?
Sino says, don't worry, no spoilers. Agatha's episode cleared things up, but like you mentioned earlier this week, having a flashback episode halfway through a short TV season seems to slow down the story, in my opinion. The interrogation scene was great, though.
I agree. Because I think that flashback episode could have been done in half the time. I think they could have done all the flashback stuff in half the time, then use the second half of the episode to progress the story with where we're at. And here's the funny thing, even though I thought the flashback stuff was too much screen time, they didn't actually do a lot. Like, how did this kid adjust to being in a different family or a different world? The struggles and emotional struggles a kid would have, like, I don't know. I think there are more interesting things they could have done. So I think they should have shortened the amount of flashback time and then spent the other half of the episode doing other things. But, you know, look, I still liked it. And we'll see how it picks up in the next episode. All right, what's next?
Sino says, me again, found your show in the pandemic and is now a staple for getting my entertainment.
Thank you, man.
for getting my entertainment news and TV suggestions. It's going to be hard to find a replacement on your level of quality. I don't always agree, but it has been nice to get a grounded take.
The most important part you should look for in any pundits, whether it's in the sports field, music field, entertainment field, movie field, whatever, is not to look for somebody you always agree with. Right? That's not the point of having discussions. My job, I say this all the time, but I'll say it again. My job is not to say things you agree with and is not to convince you to agree with me. My job is to tell you what I think and communicate what I think in such a way that it helps you more clearly identify what it is you think, whether it's the same or completely different from me. I say this all the time. One of the reasons why Roger Ebert was my favorite film critic of all time, despite the fact that I disagreed with him almost 50% of the time, was the fact of how he communicated his thoughts. How he communicated and how he observed certain things in movies and in the medium and in the art that really helped me better understand how I felt about them, even though how I felt about them was often different from how he felt about them. And that's why he was my favorite. And too many blogs and podcasts and YouTube channels are just echo chambers today. I think there are creators who only try to find people who agree with them. And I think there are audiences who, instead of trying to expand the whole idea of being a fan of the art, just try to find places that say things they already agree with.
Yeah.
And I've never wanted to be that. So yeah, I have no problem saying the unpopular thing if it's what I really think. And I have no problems when my audience disagrees with me, because that's the whole point. We're supposed to agree sometimes and we're supposed to disagree sometimes. That's the fun. So anyway, I hope when it's all said and done and I wrap things up with my career, that's what I hope people will think about, was that we agreed, we disagreed, but we always liked the conversation. That's my hope anyway. All right, what's next?
Alex the Cool says, hey, everyone. Hello from Brisbane, Australia. Got a bit of a problem. I work full time. That is a problem. There are so many movies I genuinely want to go see, but I just don't have the time or energy these days. Got any advice? Thanks, and have a lovely day. I mean, you may be married and have kids. That's my situation. I mean, like, it's tough. I sympathize.
Yeah, especially if your kids are of a certain age that you can't always just go out.
You can't just bounce. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's a part of a movie lover's reality ever since like the early 1990s, when the proliferation of film really started taking off. Remember, more movies get made today than in any other time. And I mean, the writer's strike notwithstanding, but I'm meaning in general, right? That's why it's important to be an informed consumer. You've got to make choices about which movies you're going to spend the time, and more importantly, spend the money to go and invest in. Listen to critics. Don't let them make your decisions for you, but just listen to a whole group of critics, listen to some online discussion, and get a sense about what it is you might actually want to invest your time and money in. Because unfortunately, we live in a day where you just can't see them all. You can't see it all. And especially if you're work full time and have a family. So yeah, I would just say become very selective about which things. Prioritize which are the movies that are important to you to see. All right, what's next?
Sino says, last one. Speaking of not agreeing, I watched Shrinking last season on your recommendation. I was not a huge fan, as it seemed like a more vulgar Ted Lasso. Harrison Ford's plot, though, I do like. So I'm still watching. Thanks for your Shogun recommendation. Great.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was so surprised how much I loved Shrinking. It just has so much heart. That's what I love about it. It has so much heart. And I agree with my favorite part of it is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is so good in this. Like, it's a whole different side of him. I just love it. All right, what's next?
Suthia says, okay, y'all, I know it's a little too early to predict, but could it be that the upcoming Vision quest will be about the adventures of father and son, White Vision and Billy, trying to find Tommy? Or do you think we'll see Tommy by the end of Agatha's show?
I think we'll see Tommy by the end of Agatha's show. And remember, White Vision isn't Vision.
Right.
Right? That's... White Vision was not created by Wanda, not created in the Hex, none of that kind of stuff. I mean, literally, Vision and White Vision had conversations with each other. So while he has all of Vision's memories and everything like that, he is certainly not Billy or Tommy's father, per se. So, no, I don't. It's just a guess because we don't know.
Sure.
My guess is that neither Billy nor Tommy will have anything to do with the White Vision series, with Vision Quest. All right, what's next?
CM Water says, "Hey John, last night's episode of Agatha called for you. Apparently, you just earned a heaping helping of karma to eat up. P.S. Glad to have an episode of decent length for once." Although I don't know that you liked. I think because you were complaining about the length, and so you got a longer episode.
Oh, I love the length of the episode. Yeah, I love that they were giving us a longer episode. It's funny because of Anne's trip to Paris, she didn't see the last week's episode of Agatha. So when we sat down to watch the new one, I rewatched the last one so Anne could watch it for the first time. And when we brought them up on Disney Plus, she goes, "Wait a minute, one is 31 minutes and the other's like 50 minutes?" It's like, yeah, not a lot of consistency there, but it is what it is. All right, what's next?
Kimitan asks, "Do you think that their intention is to kill the theater? Netflix can be forced by court or antitrust authorities to do wide releases for their films.
No.
Analog to the Paramount decree and FinCEN in the U.S., is it the new golden age of antitrust after all? As the Paramount decree, that doesn't.
Well, first of all, the Paramount decree doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's not.
No, you can't force Netflix. Look, you sit at home and you make something, nobody can tell you what you have to do with that. They may tell you some things you can't do with it,
Right.
but nobody can tell you what you must do with it. Right? Like if I own a Canada hat that I wear sometimes, nobody can come to me and say, "You have to wear that hat on Thursdays." No, I don't. I can if I want, but no. There's nothing you can do to go and tell Netflix, when you make movies, you have to put them in movie theaters. Nobody can do that. Yeah. Is Netflix goal to destroy the movie theaters? Yes. And they're not all that subtle about it. I mean, let's be honest. Netflix doesn't, they very, very mildly try to pretend otherwise.
Right.
They don't even try very hard to pretend otherwise. Netflix's dream is to destroy movie theaters.
Well, at least the CEO and maybe the board.
Well, maybe the board or not, but the CEO definitely does. Yeah.
It's not like we're saying every employee at Netflix has it. Of course not, but leadership.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Tyler Fletcher says, sad day for One Direction fans as Liam Payne passed away yesterday. The story behind everything is crazy, upsetting. Never thought the One Direction reunion to be a funeral. Yeah, he was only 31.
Yeah, young guy.
I don't know what happened. I don't know the details, but I know about it.
All I know is that he fell off a third-story balcony at a
right,
hotel or something. And then, of course, we can speculate. But
Right.
I mean, no, it's definitely tragic. It was horrible to hear. I couldn't name a single One Direction song, so I'm not going to pretend like it had any impact on me personally. I'll be honest with you. I'd never even heard the kid's name. So I'm just being, I'm not
Right. No, because
I just want to make sure I'm not being disingenuous.
Yeah.
But it is always very tragic when you hear about stuff like this, especially with somebody who made such an impact on so many people.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, Dr. Zhivago was the first movie my parents saw together, starring Omar Sharif and Julie Christie. To this day, I still say, you don't accept my sugar. Think Dad had a crush on her. It's still a great movie. Do you have stories about the first movies your parents saw together or with your own partners?
I have no idea what the first movies my parents saw together was. I just know my dad loved Sherlock Holmes and Old Yeller.
I know the first movie Laura and I saw at home was the first Thor.
Really?
Like we had friends over, and that was the first movie we ever watched at my house. It was Thor. But I know we saw movies, so I got to figure out what the first theater was. I'm not sure.
The first movie Ann and I ever saw together at my apartment in Hollywood was 30 Days of Night.
Oh, wow.
Yep. 30 Days of Night. That was the first one that Ann and I ever watched together. So it'll always have a very special place in my heart.
Nice.
All right, what's next?
Matthew Grant says, watch the new Agatha episode. I'm so happy. His origin is surprisingly very comics accurate. I did not think Disney would go that dark, but it's cool they did. Only in the comics, Mephisto helped with it. Not sure if they will add to that. Not sure if they will add that to it or not.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, they've already name dropped Mephisto.
Yeah, so he exists. You don't name drop something that doesn't
They
exist.
specifically mentioned Mephisto. in this thing. So he could play a role in this. It's possible. Again, I really just hope they address those two big questions I had, because to me, it's very unsatisfying the way they did that. Like, I'm sorry, some little sigil by some low-level witch, when Scarlet Witch with the Darkhold could literally see across the multiverse. She may not have been able to travel across it, but I mean, and take out all the sorcerers, and it made no sense. So hopefully they'll address that and kind of close that loop a little bit. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety says, on the Wicked fan-altered poster, if they had thinned her lips or changed her nose or cheeks to suppress or play down her ethnicity, I should totally agree with her. But if the one you showed is what she's upset about, get over it.
It's absolutely asinine. I'm sorry, her response to it was absolutely asinine. Fans taking art or images from new movies based on other IP that fans love, making then some fan art to make it look a little more similar to that. It's just a fun thing. And look, again, I want to emphasize this. If this was one of those situations like we often see in Star Wars circles or Marvel circles where it's coming from a place of hate, like people who hate that Cynthia Erivo is playing Elphaba, and we're going to make this to make fun of the movie and stuff like that, which we do see quite often in like Star Wars circles and Marvel circles, I would more understand. This was literally made out of love. This was made and mostly being shared around on social media by people who are excited for her movie.
Right.
They're excited to see her. They're excited. And they just made it look a little bit like the original poster. Yeah, if they changed her face, or if they took her out of it, or if she was the only one they changed, because remember, they practically covered Ariana Grande's face by moving the hand way further up on her face
even
to match the poster.
And you still do see her eyes; they're just shaded.
They're saying, I mean, I would get it, but like, I don't know. To me, it was really fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, to me, it's like, okay, we had the new version of West Side Story, right? Here's West Side Story. Here's the original. What if they decided, oh, we want to make the characters like the original and just make them white silhouettes? That's all it is.
I'm probably sure some fans did do that.
So,
You know what? I'm being dead serious. I am thinking about sponsoring a contest. I may actually officially announce this tomorrow. I'm going to take one more day to think about it. But I'm thinking I'm going to put up $500. And I'm going to, because that fan-made poster, making it look more like the original Wicked poster, not the best Photoshop skills doing that.
No, it really wasn't.
So I'm thinking, I may or may not announce this tomorrow, that I may actually sponsor a contest, a Photoshop contest, for the people who send in the best conversion of the poster for the upcoming movie Wicked to look more like the original Broadway poster, but still making it clearly the live action movie, clearly Cynthia Erivo, clearly Ariana Grande, like all that kind of stuff. But whoever does, like, I think the best Photoshop of it, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about putting out a call for entries, and then I'll pick my favorite 3, and then we'll put them up in the community tab with a poll, and we'll let the audience decide which one wins, which one is the best. And then I'll give like $500 to the person that makes the best one. And yeah, Raymond Rada, no AI. If we see any AI in that, if we suspect there's any AI in it, donezo. It has to actually be you doing Photoshop skills. And I'm thinking I might do that. Again, I'll announce tomorrow if we're going to do it or not. We'll see. All right. What's next?
Okay, Matan says, can we talk about how in the age of HDR and diversity, everything is so gray? The current MCU and Wicked movie look like they were dipped in gray.
What?
I don't see that, man.
What
Maybe it might be
your
screen.
What are you talking about? Just stop. Just stop. This is clearly somebody just writing something to get around. Move on. You know what? I think we're going to kill Martin's questions from now on. I don't think we're going to take any more questions from Martin. Anyway.
I just, everyone always makes fun of the MCU of being bright.
Yeah, and of course, Wicked looks insanely colorful. Anyway, move on. Right. No more questions from Matan.
Bonerific says it was a it was a boner all along. Thankfully, this episode of Agatha was still okay despite the Marvel halfway goobly-gook explanation of how to get real soul entered, or how a not real soul entered another person's body or something. And Tommy's soul is in a possessed doll, I guess.
Again, let's not get mad at something that they have not yet given us the answer to, right? Because again, there's 3 episodes to go. They could give us an extremely logically sound explanation for Tommy, an extremely logically sound explanation as to why the witch didn't warn the kid he might die that day. A completely logical explanation about how could the Scarlet Witch, empowered with the Darkhold, not sense that her kids were still alive in this universe. Again, let's not get mad at something when they haven't even offered us the answers yet. We've got 3 more episodes. Let's see what they do with it. All right, what's next?
Luke Stockton says, live from New York, I would like to feed your fingertips to the Wolverines. I loved Saturday Night. All the cast was amazing. Specifically, actors playing John Belushi and Chevy. The movie felt like what Lauren said the show was at the end of the movie. More people need to go see this movie. Saturday Night.
What were your thoughts on it?
Loved it. I thought it was great. The entire thing, it's almost real time. They give them about 15 minutes longer than 90 minutes. So it stretches it out by like 15 minutes. So it's not quite real time. It doesn't matter. It feels like real time. The portrayals are all great. I would also say that what's his name who played Dan Aykroyd. You just kind of forget that these people are the actors. That's how good which is what you're supposed to do. But I mean, even when you're looking at them, like when you look at Oz and Penguin, you forget that, that's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
So when you're watching this film, you're just so engrossed. You feel like you're in 1975, and this is the night of Saturday Night. The first airing. The character who does Jim Belushi, there's a moment where, because I kind of judged each one for this. How spot on are they getting like the aura of the character, right? And there's one, I can't really do it, so I'm just gonna push my eyebrow. But there's one moment where Jim Belushi looks over and he raises his eyebrow, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Jim Belushi. It's so good.
All right, what's next?
David says, hey, John, sorry if anyone has already asked this, but I'm just going to shift this over a little bit. Have you had an opportunity to see Sing Sing yet? It's incredible. My 3rd favorite movie of the year. I feel like it will definitely get some attention from the Academy. Love the show and you.
Wait a second. I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right movie. Let me just...
By the way, fun fact, guys, we have the costume designer for Sing Sing. We just released this morning a Designing Hollywood.
New episode of Designing Hollywood with the costume producer. Yeah. No, I've not. I was about to say, oh yeah, I love that. Oh wait a minute, no, it wasn't the movie I was thinking of. I have not seen Sing Sing yet. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. Like Johnson just pointed out, we have the costume designer for Sing Sing on Designing Hollywood right now, but I've not had a chance to watch it yet. No. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, for this Halloween season, I have seen the following: Beetlejuice 2, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Annabelle, Longlegs, The Mousetrap, Conjuring 2, Frankenstein 31, Tower of Terror, Coraline, and Sing Thriller. Any suggestions for next year? You got that slasher flick you love, where it's like they create like they live in a real world where those people exist.
What are you talking about?
That slasher film.
Oh, yes. The one horror movie I will always recommend. I mean, my favorite horror movies of all time are American Werewolf in London and The Descent. I love those two. But there is a smaller, lesser known masterpiece of a little movie called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. It is both ridiculously funny, sharply smart, and then legitimately in the third act, a really cool slasher film. I've waxed poetic about it many times. Go and look up Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. It's fantastic. Put that on your watch list. All right, what's next?
Bright says, no major spoilers for the Penguin, but I think we're getting a big setup for Hugo Strange in the Batman 2. Plus, they wanted to do that Arkham show. The Penguin is making me so hyped for more Battinson, and I need Reeves to get rolling. Would Hugo Strange have been the other Doctor?
I don't think so, but I mean they could be setting him up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's possible. I don't think anything that was going to be in the Arkham show they were looking at will make its way into the Batman. But listen, I'm with you. I'm totally good that Batman is not showing up in Penguin, because the show's called Penguin. I'm all fine. I'm fine with that. But I'm not. I'm with you on this, though. It is just making me longing even more to get back to that Pattinson.
Although, yes, but now what I'm seeing is how the Batman is going to start fitting in with this too, because they're making a lot of noise now. This isn't just murders behind closed doors. This is explosions in the city. This is chaos on top of everything else.
Yep. All right, what's next?
We got Christopher Rosado says, I wanted to address the two criticisms you had of Agatha episode 6. One, I don't think Patty knew how he would die, or that he would die, so she couldn't warn him. Plus,
that's an assumption you're making. All right.
Plus, it is established that her visions aren't the clearest, or she doesn't get the whole picture.
See, that second argument you made is the more valid one to me. I still think she clearly had a sense of what was about to happen, which is this kid's about to die. So even though I think the second argument you gave is the more valid one, I think that's a good one to make. I still think the fact that she just wouldn't tell the kid, that she goes, kid, enjoy your night. I mean, I would expect a little bit more than that, especially since the show seems to present her as a good person. But again, to the whole specificity of it and her only getting kind of vague stuff, I think that's a good argument to make. That's a good one. All right, what's next?
All right, here's our final one from Christopher Rosado. Says, this is a follow-up. Second, the reason why Wanda wasn't able to sense Billy at all is because Patty put that spell on him.
The sigil.
Yes. Now he's Billy Sigil. No one knows who he is until the spell is off. He had that spell since WandaVision until Agatha. So to me, those concerns you have are answered.
Nope. That doesn't excuse it at all.
John, he says it's answered.
It's not the second one at all. Because you can't tell me that the Scarlet Witch, imbued with the power of the Darkhold, who slapped the hell out of the Sorcerer Supreme and an army of sorcerers, who can peer out across the multiverse. You're going to tell me, don't worry, some low-level spell cast by some low-level little fortune teller witch doing little boys bar mitzvah fortune telling, you're going to tell me that ward was going to trump the Scarlet Witch with the Darkhold, who could peer across realities? That was going to stop her when she was laser focus obsessed with finding her kids? Bullshit. You're telling me that spell that lady cast was more powerful than the Scarlet Witch, who took out the Sorcerer Supreme and all the world's sorcerers, no problem. That would be a very lazy writing. That would be a terrible excuse and very lazy writing. They have to come up with something else. And again, I'm not going to get mad about it because we got 3 episodes left. They may very well present us with another explanation for that. And I hope that they do. But this whole little thing of, I'm a fortune teller at a bar mitzvah. Here, let me get this little thing. Sigil. And now that beats the power of the Scarlet Witch. No way. No way. Anyway. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, guys. And with that down, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number 1, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number 2, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. I want to thank Jonathan Voico for being here with me. Jonathan, thanks so much.
All right, Billy Sigil says goodbye.
Billy Sigil. And a big special thank you to all you guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.